Before we go to the cards, I just would like to, I'm not going to use the term fake news, but I am going to say that there may have been some misinformation or misunderstanding as to where this supervisor and the town board stand on the Green Rail Transfer Project. We are still getting a number of phone calls. We're still getting a number of form letters coming in about it. At last month's town board meeting, I read a letter into the record where this board has gone on record opposing the Green Rail Transfer Project. And here's the misinformation comes. Here we go. This is where some of the misinformation comes. It was kind of put out there that this was something that the town was entertaining. We have to this date not received any kind of application on this particular project. It is with the New York State DEC. However, because of all of the input that we received from the public, from all of you, we did feel it was necessary and prudent to go on record and state our position. And we are all in agreement that we are totally opposed to this. So I'm really kind of perplexed at the fact that even as late as noon today, we received phone calls coming into the office, checking on the time of the meeting today so that you could come and speak about the project and, ask us not to go for it. So please rest assured that we are not supportive of it. We are awaiting the New York State DEC's decision. I would be shocked if they get any kind of approvals. My gut says no, but that's just my own personal opinion. But please understand that we are steadfast. We are in unanimous agreement that this is not the right project, this is not the right place, and we are not supporting it. So, having said all of that, yes,
yeah. I just wanted to add to the supervisor's remarks. She does speak for all of us up here when she says that we are all very much opposed to this. So I just wanted to verify, yes, we all think that this is not a good place to put this in the middle of your neighborhood.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for clarifying. All right, let us go to the cards again. It's 3 minutes. And our first speaker is David Perry, who I believe has gotten a number of letters from us about this very project.
Yeah. Thank you, Supervisor Carpenter and board members. As you said, my name is David Perry, and I'm a resident of Holbrook. Today, I'd like to address 2 items. First is my request that the board take a more definitive stance with the DEC regarding your authority on the Green Rail project. And second is the quality of life being affected by the current activities at the site. After reading your letter of January 24th, I sent a letter to the supervisor suggesting that the letter did not go far enough, nor did it provide decisive statements on the action the town would take if the DEC proceeded to approve the project without a full review. I requested that the town inform the DEC that the town is required to grant permission for this project and that it will require a full environmental impact statement before approval would be considered by the town. I remain concerned that the town has yet to make it crystal clear to the DEC, notwithstanding your comments just now, that it has certain jurisdictions for this property. The DEC and the applicant are clearly ignoring you. I'm concerned that they will proceed despite the town's authority. The objective of making the town making this clear is to put the DEC on notice that any decision they may make will be subject to full review with the possibility of their decision being overturned. No agency wants to be second-guessed and their decisions potentially changed. If the town informs the DEC of this, it could provide the DEC with the motivation to either disallow the permit outright or at a minimum conduct the appropriate review process we have requested. If the DEC approves the permit, the town will undoubtedly be politically pressured to approve it, so the state officials do not look bad. This is the world we live in, and we all know it. I ask that the town take the first shot on our behalf before you get your hands tied. Contrary to the response I received from the supervisor, the town board does not need a formal application from the applicant to provide this comment to the DEC, nor does such a comment imply the DEC is under the town's jurisdiction. It would, however, make clear that the property and the zoning are under the town's jurisdiction and that you plan to enforce it. Not clarifying this implies to the community you may not actually oppose the project if the DEC approves it. Please prove me wrong. At the public hearing held by Legislator Lindsay earlier this month, a member of your board confirmed that the town would require the full environmental review for this project. We thank you for that commitment. Based on the board's view that you need an application to act, if one is never submitted, you may never act. I ask that you proactively tell the DEC you will not take any DEC decision as the final word for this project. My second point is the continued lack of enforcement for the current site activities. I previously provided the board a video of the site showing the devastation to the land. Several board members saw the video along with a more recent one at the public hearing. The community has not been made aware, nor have we seen enforcement personnel at the site from the town. I, along with the rest of the community, would like to know what is preventing the town from taking action for the activities currently being conducted on the site. I respectfully request that the town provide a public statement to the community answering the following questions. What enforcement action has the town taken on the property with respect to improper sand mining and dumping, noise and air pollution? What jurisdiction of the town determined it has to enforce these items? What rights do property owners have with respect to neighbors breaking the law and impacting the quality of life? And lastly, what is the town's responsibility to enforce these rights?
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Anyone see me now?
At Montanino, 28 Campbell Lane, East Islip. I'm here today to address a few major problems. As I was so rudely interrupted the last time I spoke, as I have stated here before, I do not stand here and speak lies. It's all based on fact. That being said, because I do not agree with you, your choice is to try and have the residents think I'm crazy. I'm sorry to disappoint you. But on August in 2015, Ms. Carpenter, you tried to have residents believe you were proposing to ban party leaders from holding leadership positions. You stated this would only apply to Republicans and Democrats because independents and conservatives don't mean anything. Well, conservatives, okay, are minor parties should not be excluded. Attempt to weed out politics should weed out all politics, not just from two minor parties. Now, conservative parties whose ballots can sway elections, particularly in judicial races, have been chaired by Ed Walsh until he was convicted in the U.S. District Court earlier this year for gambling, golfing, and whatever. 13 to 14% are actually independents. Since those generally independent voters are less to engage in politics, they still make up the vote and could sway, and they are the difference in a close election. A stake is control of the influential Suffolk Conservative Party. So I don't know where you got that only Republicans and Democrats should be excluded. It should be everybody excluded. And that also being said, at last month's town board meeting, a woman got up here from the West Islip Board of Ed. She stood here, your friend, Miss LaRosa, stood here and said she did everything right. She did nothing wrong. She made the school fit for let's see. I just want to add that the Westbrook School was closed down. She failed to tell everybody her vote closed it down. And then she failed to tell everybody that she put her daycare center in that closed, award-winning elementary school. Mr. Geller said at all hearings, you approved everything, but yet I would like on the record for the board to be aware, there are hundreds and thousands of infants to 5 to 6-year-olds in those buildings, and according to the state, there should be no one in that building because there are no COs or no
Thank you very much,
permits.
Ms.
And the
Montanino.
fire marshal went there and said he
Ms.
couldn't do
Montanino,
anything.
your time's up. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I would like to please have the
Thank you.
fire marshal go there.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you. Next speaker, Lorraine Levine.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm here about the Green Rail
Your
project.
name and address for the record, please.
My name is Lorraine Levine, 147 Colony Drive, living across the street from a neighbor that's not a good neighbor. Anyway, what I wanted to say is the zoning. The zoning is what you all control. Now, if I wanted to build a deck, or if you wanted to build a deck on your property, I'd have to go to the zoning board to get the approval. We have a neighbor there across the street that has done illegal expansion, split up the ownership of the property into many different parcels, put up radio stations, stripped the property of acres of trees, wanton destruction of the land, and they received payment from New York City to take a mountain, thousands of tons of silica rock dust, which is a breathable hazard, and dump it across the street. They were supposed to use that material according to New York City, but they didn't. They just went, hey, dump it there. And it blew into our neighborhoods, blew into the street sewers, and we always had floods, blew into our lakes. And that's what they did to our neighborhood. Now they're planning to do something else. They're planning to bring a garbage station there. Now we had them mine sand from the property. Now when you have sand, it percolates, it's a filter. The water that percolates through there comes through and it gets cleansed, and we drink that water. We drink that water. They mine that sand because it brings money. And they are dumping all sorts of who knows what. They get a tipping fee from everybody who wants to pull up their driveway or give them whatever garbage. They get paid to take it. They get paid to take it and dump it. Where our sand was filtering our water, now we're getting, we don't know what kind of garbage. Now they want to bring that rail thing to us, so we'll have the smells, the rodents. It could be packaged, but you know, rats bite through even metal pipes. We'll have it all. We'll have it all. And whose responsibility is it? Because you have not enforced your zoning law. They are We cannot wait for the DEC that we call definitely out of control. We want you to enforce your zoning laws. It's your responsibility. We look to you. We look to you to take care of us. We elected you so that you would take care of us. Now we cannot wait for someone else to make a decision. You have to make the decision. They are doing the wrong thing. They've been doing the wrong thing. Do your job and take care of your population.
Greg FEB, 127 St. Mark's Lane, Islip. I attended the legislature meeting last month at the county facility over in Hop. And you weren't there, Ms. Carpenter, sad to say you weren't, but I spoke to Jim Fonda over at the DC prior to attending that meeting, and it was a very interesting conversation I had with him. He informed the board members in the town of Islip, and also the 5 board members in Brookhaven, on the 9th of November. He looked up his email that he had sent out, it was still there. He sent all notification to both board members of both townships. And I asked him, I said, did you also notify the supervisors of Brookhaven and Islip? He says, no, I didn't. He said, I'll check with my my boss, which is Ms. Gallagher, and I'll get back to you. And he did about 4:30 that afternoon, and he said, yes, she notified Ed Romaine, and she also notified you, okay? So someone's lying to the people of Holbrook, because if the state said they notified the townships on the 9th of November, and you waited until when, the 24th to get this letter out, someone's not being honest, okay? And like the people are saying, you share equal responsibility to look into this, to do the same thing you did over at Roberta Clemente. Get some firm out there, check the soil, see what's in it, okay? Another disturbing thing, and I don't have enough time today, but I'll continue next month, is who you appointed to Islip MacArthur Airport, who sits on the advisory board, Mr. Manning, who polluted Alberta's tar sands. He's the culprit that put all that poison and these ponds, they call them, after they process that oil, that tar sand. It's disgusting if you ever took an aerial survey of the poisons that are in those ponds. And, you know, it's just amazing how pollution follows pollution in this country and also in Canada. Now you expect those people, those tribal people that live downstream, I spoke to them up in Ottawa yesterday, they are sickened by it. Putting a man like Manny, who was sitting as president, and he was written up in Newsday as well, pushing for Keystone to bring that sand tar down here, and also to Portland, Maine, where they gave him 3 minutes before they booed him out when he stood in the auditorium trying to sell them the tar oils into Portland to ship it overseas. They weren't going to see a dime in this country. He was going to bring it up to Newfoundland, up into the Maritimes, and market it up there and overseas. He wasn't going to help the people of Portland. They booted him out of the auditorium. I have the plan for it. Here's the First Nations of Canada, the people up in Ottawa that are fed up with him and all the Suncor and all these big corporations polluting and poisoning these people. These tribal people that were living on those lands for thousands of years. The fish, they got tumors coming out of it. They can't even eat the fish. They're dying. This is the truth. This is factual. Look it up on YouTube and on the internet. And you put David Manning, on the advisory board at MacArthur Airport, because you want to make tourism between the two countries. Well, I have friends up in Midland, Ontario, who fly for Air Canada pilots. They will not honor this. They will not, because they're honorable people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles Connors, and I reside at 1 Mindy Lane. Louder. Charles Connors. I reside at 1 Mindy Lane, Bohemia, New York, and I'm here to represent the citizens of the Bunker Hill Valley Forge Mobile Park. We were here last year to try to get some satisfaction, but we still haven't gotten any satisfaction. There's various codes that are being violated that nobody wants to look into. We've contacted code enforcement, the police, fire department. Nobody wants to hear it. The codes are 68-232 along with 68-238, which is covers roadways in the mobile parks where ours are just falling apart, constantly flooding, stagnant water, okay? Also fire protection. We have 11 fire hydrants throughout the whole park. The fire marshal refuses to move them around or have them moved. There's 5 on one block, 5 on another block. A lot of houses are left vulnerable because we had 2 houses burned down because the fire departments couldn't even find the hydrants. But yet, Mr. Catalano doesn't want to hear it. Another one is 68-420 about prohibitive storage. We have cars throughout the park that are unregistered. That's against the town code. These are your codes, not mine. I ain't making these up. Nobody wants to enforce it. Nobody wants to come down and tell. We're only supposed to have 2 cars per household. We got houses with 2, 3 cars covered up. We know they're not registered because one of the owners told me they weren't registered. He buys them from the auctions and he tries to resell them and redo them up. We can't get any enforcement. We just need somebody's help to come into the park and please talk to us, the people. Not to stop at Michelle's office, which I see a town of Islip car out there at least once or twice a month. They're in there talking with her in the office. We don't see any progress. Now, whether they're answering our complaints or not, it's beyond that. Nobody contacts us again. And I'd like to know why that is. Why that your agencies are not responding to the people instead of management of this park. We're not getting any progress. We're constantly, the park is literally turning into a slum because of this management team. The people caught, they're absentee landlords. They have a manager who is impotent. According to her, she has no power. She can't get anything done. She can't do anything. So I'm asking the town to please intervene and talk to myself, or I have it on the paper, myself or Mary Ann Barone, and we can take it through the park, tour the park with code enforcement and show them what's going on, and maybe we can get some fixes. I mean, I see no reason why the fire marshal, especially the fire safety, that he finds 5 hydrants on one block, 5 hydrants on the other block, okay. That's okay.
Thank you, and I appreciate you bringing it down and can sense your frustration. Mr. D'Amico, who's with Public Safety.
Who?
Mr. D'Amico,
Okay.
right at the door there. He's kind of like sent me a high sign, so if you would please go over and see.
Can I leave a copy of this with the board?
He's responsible for the fire marshals and will be
Okay.
able to assist you. Thank you for coming down.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rosalind Sesso.
I respectfully decline.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. Next speaker, William Duran.
My name is Bill Foran. I live at 127 Colony Drive in Holbrook. I have 2 questions for Ms. Kaufman. The first is, will you issue a local permit to the Green Rail project? And the second is, when are you up for re-election?
This is not a question, it's a period, but I'm up for re-election in 2 years, and I can only speak to myself on only one vote. I would not vote to issue a permit.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Next speaker, Grace Cohen.
Well, thank you for hearing me. I'm not as eloquent as some of the previous speakers. I live at 153 Fairfield Drive in the Colony, directly across from Pasco, which has changed considerably over the 13 years I have been residing in the Colony. I know that you are supposed to have requirements about height, size, air pollution. Things seem to have gotten totally out of control, and now the possibility of this Green Rail project is unspeakable. I wonder how you would react if this were across the street. How would you approve such a possible disaster in a community that is so full of homes, and not exactly inexpensive homes, but homes that are paying big taxes to support the town of Islip? We really deserve a better break, and I do not think that the only answer is the DEC. I think that you are the final answer, and I would like to know if you lived across the street from that location, how you would respond.
Thank you, Grace.
Joanne Pester. I live on Race Place in Oakdale. I read in the paper this morning a very interesting article, and I brought it for you to review. But what I'm going to discuss now is so far different from what has been brought to your attention today. I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the school district, in the school system, and I am concerned about the protection that the schools will give for these children now that we have a person in charge of the United States who has begun to rein in people that are immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal. He's stepping forward, as he did the other day with Muhammad Ali's son, and had him detained. I'm concerned about these children that go to school from the age of 5 to 14 that may go in fear, and their parents too. I would like to know what the board can do to help us relax our fears as parents and help the teachers recognize when a child should not be taken out of school by anyone that the child does not know. I'm afraid that this is turning into a dictatorship, and my greatest fear is that although I didn't live through a dictatorship, my husband did. My husband knew well enough about Hitler and what he did during his reign of terror. So I want to protect the children that are here. Well, I want you to protect the children that are here. And if someone could write me a letter and tell me what you're doing about this is a grave concern to me. May I give you this?
Please, thank you very much, Joanne. Appreciate it. Next speaker, Terry Cooper.
Hi, my name is Terry Cooper, and I live at 124 Colony Drive in Holbrook. I had a few comments to make. Everyone else has pretty much done it already, but I just want to reiterate. First, I wanted to say thank you, because I do sense your support against this Green Rail transfer project, and I thank you for it very, very much. What we know, though, is that we haven't yet succeeded, and so we want to know you to be aware that we're here again and again and again and again, because we will persevere. So we ask you to continue to reach out to the DEC and voice your opposition as well, just as we are. We want you to be vigilant. The time for public comment is over, but we will not be quiet, nor should you. The property, secondly, again, PAPCO, FEMA, the property in question on Burroughs Road is a great cause of concern to all of us who live nearby. They have been illegally mining on this property and illegally dumping construction waste there. Other than a $700,000 fine, of which they have paid $100,000, nothing has been done to remedy this situation, at least not that any of us are aware of. We need you to step up and protect the residents of Holbrook and Holtsville. Approximately 20 acres has been almost completely devastated, with craters 30 feet deep. Are they allowed to do this? Are they allowed to keep this up? Aren't they subject to zoning laws? When they're finished mining all this acreage, which at the rate they're going should be pretty soon, what happens next? Will they fill it with more illegally dumped waste? We want to see this land restored and the hazardous waste removed. We want you to launch an investigation into this property. We want all illegal activities stopped. Enforce the law. Send inspectors to evaluate what is going on. If Town of Islip zoning laws allows all this to happen, we want you to change the laws. We will not settle for inaction. The wheels of bureaucracy may move slowly, but our health and well-being are at risk and have been for a long time. Please focus your resources on protecting your constituents and launching a speedy investigation.
Thank you.
name is Teresa Joseph. I received a letter yesterday from the town. I received a letter from the town yesterday about the notice of removal of nuisance from my house. I have in 45 North Expressway driving around Kakoma. So I'm coming here to see what the town can do to help me resolve that problem.
Okay, I'm going to assume that this is something that Jason is ready. Jason, are you here? If you would please come and step forward and see if you can help Ms. Joseph, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Steve Berkland.
Good afternoon. This is my second time.
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Steve Berkland, 319 Homestead Road, Bayport. This is my second time speaking. I'm not going to beat you up about what happened last time. You're still doing a great job. I just wanted to share this little story with you. I get a text from my brother-in-law. It's 6:05 in the morning. I looked at the camera on purpose there. I don't have cable vision. I don't know that the government station broadcasts this out there. He was pouring his coffee. My response to him, I hope you didn't spill it on yourself. Second point here, and this is one way to suck up to my wife. I love my wife. She pays the taxes in our house, and you may or may not be responsible for it, but I do pay the taxes in the building over here. She told me that the taxes went down for this year $30. Like I said, it may not be your input on that caused it. It could be other things on the tax bill, but I'll say thank you anyway. There was a third thing, but I don't want to hold up every... While I have the mic here, as I said, I've been here before, and I've seen how you do things, and it's run very effectively with you, Angie, up there at the mic, saying, okay, do I have a motion, second, getting the votes. I can't hear the votes. I know you all have microphones in front of you. When you're saying aye or nay, please, for the sake of these people, show them where you stand.
So we can throw to me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Berkland. Basically, unless it's a no, you can assume it's a yes in the roll call. Thank you. Next speaker, Deborah Kavanaugh.
Deborah Kavanaugh, 21 Walnut Street, Central Essex, New York. I'm here to speak on number 34. I'm just saying I'm in support of it. We'd like to see the...
Deborah, if you could just speak to the microphone.
Okay. I'm speaking on item number 34, saying that I am definitely in support of this transfer, and I'd like to see the project move forward. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? That is all the cards I have that have been signed to speak up. Okay, come forward, please.
Can you hear me? Hello, my name is Don Urquhart from the Colony in Holbrook. I'm here to express my concerns about the Green Rail Transfer Project permit
Mr. Clark, could you please give your address for the record?
at 175 Colony Drive.
Thank you.
I hope it doesn't count against my time. I'm here to express my concerns about the pending permit and to let you know that I'm not comforted by the supervisor's letter of opposition and to let you know that I am not alone. The proposal was put together over nearly 5 years, in secret. And contrary to what we were told, as you heard from Mr. Pepe, DEC says that they did inform officials. Now we're told from officials that that wasn't the case. So somewhere the truth is missing, and it's a cause for concern. Now, back to the supervisor's earlier letter that claimed that the pending permit is outside of the town's jurisdiction and the state supersedes the town. Interesting artful language. And in fact, well, because New York's environmental conservation law, legislative intent is that it should not supersede local municipal land use zoning or actually any local laws or regulations. And in fact, Section 2711 expressly provides that it does not supersede local laws, ordinances, and regulations. So I want to talk a little bit about the town not knowing about this. And I'm reading from a letter from April of 2015 from the applicant. And the applicant writing to DEC says, we have had discussions with Eric Hoffmeister, Commissioner of Environmental Control for the town of Islip. Mr. Hoffmeister confirmed that he has met with Jim Gladys and Jim Heil from Cashin and Associates, engineers, on multiple occasions, and has discussed the proposed project. Mr. Hoffmeister also confirmed that he has been fully briefed by these GRT engineers on the proposed project, and correctly pointed out that Islip will not be playing any role in the project. The proposed project is simply located within the town. In order to clarify what local government land use approvals may be required for the proposed operation, Mr. Hoffmeister agreed to consult with the town planner and report back. As of this writing, we have not received a confirmation. And that's curious because it never came. Mr. Hoffmeister, for those of you in the audience who don't know, was replaced by Mr. Heil from Cashin and Associates. Now, Cashin and Associates, it turns out, and Mr. Hoffmeister and Mr. Heil have all, I would say, contributed rather generously to the campaigns of members of this very body sitting before us here today. And I'm deeply disturbed by the endless parade of town of Islip officials involved in pay-to-play and corruption scandals, by the relationships between business and campaign funding, and the town's Cosa Nostra-like culture of secrecy, refusal to release information through the FOIL process. It's disturbing. And in there are manifest opportunities for mischief. So since the summer of 2015, this administration has refused to release records through the FOIL process regarding ownership of those parcels, regarding violations on those parcels, and regarding authorized commercial uses. So please release the documents. Thank you.
I did put in a request to speak, so my name is Mary Beth Marino. Sorry. My name is Mary Beth Marino. I live at 20 Wyndham Lane in Holbrook. As much as we appreciate the letter of support that you have all sent, for saying that you will not support the Green Rail project, we're wondering where the request for various documents are that we have foiled. Ownership of each parcel on PAPCO, authorized commercial activities for each parcel, violations reported for each parcel, enforcement action for each parcel, not the ones that are pending, the ones that are agitated, Article 78, settlement, terms and conditions, failure to enforce municipal land use and zoning regulations. Multiple people in our group have put requests out there to get that information, and we haven't heard anything. There's also been earlier FOIL requests that were denied due to pending criminal investigation. The district attorney's office insists that they don't need to intercede in the administration of municipality FOIL requests. So if they don't have a problem releasing it, the town of Islip shouldn't have a problem releasing it as well. So please look into the fact that our FOIL requests are not being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lino.
Hearing none, motion to close the public hearing. Lou, come forward, please.
Louis Era,
23 Gainsborough Road, Holbrook, New York. Supervisor Carpenter, members of the board. Supervisor Carpenter and members of the board. First thing I want to do is say thanks for the memo, which shows good intent on the board's part. But we as homeowners are very frustrated. I think you've got that. And we will continue to discuss this with you until there's a resolution to this. What's happened to me in the past 2 months now, my grandson, who lives in the colony, has started to develop respiratory issues. And this is becoming important to us, mainly from the perspective of that stuff which is blowing out of AFCO and the landfill. So, to me, it's become a personal issue. 2 things that I would like to see some action on that we could follow up on. You could give us some information where the town stands with regard to Jim Heil and his input into any future decisions on this project. And if you can, some sort of chain of custody or documentation on where the FOIL requests are. Okay? Because I've heard it every time I've been here. People are saying, where are the FOIL requests? If they've been denied, okay. If they haven't been denied, some sort of chain of custody on that. And I'm asking for you guys to support us again.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? Hearing none, motion to close public hearing by Councilor Flaherty and second by Councilor Burns. Those in favor? Opposed? It is, the public hearing is closed and we will move to the agenda. Okay, first item on the agenda is announcing the appropriation transfers from one fund to another. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilor Burns, second by Councilor Copper. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Second item is the monthly cash summary. It indicates balance of various accounts to November 30th, 2016. Any questions? Motion by Councilor Copper, second by Councilor Collins. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item number 3 is meeting of the Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency. I'll call a motion for the board to convene. Motion by Councilor Clark, second by Councilor Morgan. All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting of the Islip Industrial Development Agency board is convened as a quorum to be present.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the agency board. John Walzer, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip, New York. I have several items for your consideration today. The first item is to approve the minutes from our last meeting of this board on January 24th of this year.
Motion by Councilor Burton, second by Councilor Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved.
The next item is an inducement resolution between the agency and 75 Sunrise Highway LLC, Atlantic Veterinary Center of West Islip. This is an expansion of an existing specialty animal hospital and emergency center. They will be adding square footage to the facility as well as investing in medical equipment. Total capital investment is expected to be over $3.8 million. They will be adding 10 new jobs to their existing 106.
Any questions?
Motion.
Hearing none, motion by Councilor Copper, second by Councilor Fodor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The next 3 items are authorizing resolutions for projects you reduced at last month's meeting. The first is an authorizing resolution for Keneal Bay LLC. This is a small mixed-use development in a former Empire Zone area at 98 Carlton Avenue in Central Islip.
Motion by Councilor Morgan, second by Councilor Fodor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The next is an authorizing resolution between the agency and Apple Sign Corporation, a manufacturer of signage and displays for the retail industry, at 3 Oval Drive, Islandia, and their adjacent lot on Bridge Road in Central Islip.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Copper, second by Councilor Fodor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Next is an authorizing resolution between the agency and Toro Metal Products, a manufacturer of precision metal components on Grand Boulevard in Brentwood. The company will be expanding their manufacturing capacity at their existing facility and purchasing a neighboring facility for further expansion. Total investment will be over $4 million. They will retain 55 jobs and add 6.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The next item is to consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing a sublease to One Main Financial Group in the Hopog Office Park. This is a routine authorization of a tenant in a multi-tenanted office building.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Similarly, the next item is to consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing a sublease to Brown Foreman Corporation, also in the Hopog Office Park.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
I just want to clarify, are
Yes.
you on 7 or 8?
8.
Okay. You do have a vote recorded on 7? Yes. Okay. All right, so that was Brown Foreman, motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilman McFarland, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved.
The next is an amended authorizing resolution between the agency and Prime 11 Tower LLC. This project was previously authorized. It involves the construction and leasing of a 42,000 square foot facility to Pods Enterprises LLC at 500 Prime Place in Hopog. This amendment restates the description of the land as defined in the lease agreement.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved.
Next is an authorizing resolution between the agency and Andreassi Associates LLC at 45 Crossway East, Bohemia. The company's sole tenant is a not-for-profit school for children with special needs. This resolution will extend the terms of the company's lease and pilot agreements for 5 years.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved.
And finally is a resolution authorizing the conveyance of quitclaim deeds to Edgewood Land LP and Executive Land LP for Wilshire Boulevard Roadway and Recharge Basin in Edgewood. This is a road and recharge basin in the Heartland Industrial Park that needs to be conveyed from the agency to the owner, so the owner can then dedicate them back to the town.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman McFarland. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
Motion with business, motion by Councilman Cochran to close, second by Councilman McFarland. All those in favor? Opposed? The agency for business has been concluded and it's closed. Thank you very much. We now move to item 4 on the agenda, which is secure and clean up various properties in the town of Islip. Police.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board, Town Clerk, Elise Grasso, Assistant Town Attorney for the Town of Islip, 655 Main Street in Islip, New York. Number 1, to board and clean the premises located at 19 20th Avenue in Bay Shore. On this vacant and unsecured property that now exists, unsecured rear windows and doors, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. It appears that an attempt was made to board this dwelling, however, not to HUD standards. Notice of this hearing was provided to only persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved.
Number 2, to board and clean up the premises located at 29 2nd Avenue in Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property with evidence of unauthorized entry, there now exists broken and unsecured windows on the primary dwelling, an unsecured detached garage, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Is there a motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Cochran. Second. Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 3, to board and clean up the premises located at 33 Arthur Street in Brentwood. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, which an attempt has been made to board but not to HUD standards, an unregistered vehicle, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? I'll make the motion. Second. By Councilman Caput. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 4, to board and clean the premises located at 35 East Elm Street in Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured front and basement windows and doors, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Ballmer. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 5, to board and clean the premises located at 47 Arkansas Avenue in Bayshore. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists an unsecured rear sunroom, an unsecured shed, and an unsecured in-ground pool. Also high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? I'll make the motion. Second. Second by Councilman Ballmer. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 6, to board and clean the premises located at 69 West Bayberry Road in Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, an unsecured shed, and an unsecured boathouse. Also, there's a fallen tree, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris. This constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice that this hearing is provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Caput, second. Second. By Councilman Ballmer. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 7, to board and clean up the premises located at 81 Floyd Street in Brentwood. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors on the front and side of the dwelling, an unregistered vehicle, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris. This constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing is provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Ballmer. Second. Second by Councilman Ballmer. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 8, to board and clean up the premises located at 145 Oak Street in Kismet. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors on the dwelling, an unsecured shed, 4 unsecured utility buildings, an unsecured pool, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing is provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. By Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 9, to board and clean the premises located at 188 Prospect Place in Bayshore. On this vacant and unsecured property, with evidence of unauthorized entry, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris. This constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing is provided to all known persons with a property interest in these premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second. Second. Councilman Ballmer. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 10, to clean the premises located at 253 West Main Street in Sayville. On this vacant lot, there now exists high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris. This constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing is provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? I'll make the motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Item number 11 has been withdrawn as the property is now in compliance. Number 12, board and clean the premises located at 416 Arizona Avenue in Bayshore. On this vacant and unsecured property, which has been damaged by fire, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Lisa, was this the parcel that the woman was here earlier speaking about?
I believe it's the number 16, which is 4545 Express Drive North.
Right. Which is the one we're addressing now.
This is 416 Arizona Avenue.
Oh, okay. All right. Any questions? Hearing none, motion by Councilwoman Bergen, second by Councilman Ballmer. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Item number 13, 14, and 15 have been withdrawn, as those are now in compliance. And finally, number 16, to board and clean the premises located at 4545 Express Drive North in Ronkonkoma. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows, an unsecured roof which is covered by a tarp, allowing access to rodents. It appears that an attempt was made to board this property, however, it's not to HUD standard. This constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interested in this premises. I did speak with the owner of the property earlier, and she mentioned that we will work with her in order to allow her time to take care of the violations on her own.
Okay, so we'll move forward with the approval. All right, motion? Motion by Councilman Murphy, second by Councilman Kleiner. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, please. We'll now move to item 5, authorization of the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider amending the town of Islip Uniform Traffic Code. Any questions? Hearing none.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Burton. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 6 is an authorization to presidential and professional service agreement with Level G Associates to continue to develop and implement planned parking strategies for town roads and parking lots. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Kleiner. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 7. The next item is meeting with the town of Islip Resource Recovery Agency. I'll now call for motion for FEB. Motion by Councilman Kleiner, second by Councilwoman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting of the town of Resource Recovery Agency Board is convened with the quorum being present.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the agency board. My name is James Heil, President of the agency, 401 Main Street, Islip, New York. First, a resolution is approval of the minutes of the December 13th, 2016 agency board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second by Councilman Burton. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved.
Second is a resolution authorizing the president to enter into a contract with Island Structures Engineering to provide engineering services related to the field measurement and providing as-built drawings of the RAP facility, RAP recycling facility.
Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
A resolution authorizing the president to extend the power purchase agreement with the Long Island Power Authority for the sale and purchase of electric power generated by the MacArthur Resource Recovery Facility.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
A resolution authorizing general salary increases in the amount of 2% for the non-represented management employees of the agency.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
I'll make the, Councilman Cochran made the motion. I'll make the second. All those in favor? Opposed? That passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kleiner. Motion to close the meeting of the Town of Islip Resource Recovery Agency. Motion by Councilwoman Bergen. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The agency board meeting is now adjourned. The next item is the authorization of supervisor to amend the existing lease agreement with Ed Califano for parcel of town-owned Bay Bottom land to include Mr. Stephen Ramirez as an additional lessee. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilwoman Bergen, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 9 is the authorization of supervisor to enter into a rabies vaccination services contract with the Secretary of Department of Health Services for the provision of rabies vaccines at no cost to the town. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Kleiner. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. The next item is an authorization for the controller to make any and all budget adjustments and journal entries in order to properly reflect 2016 operations for the town of Islip. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Burton. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is an authorization for the supervisor to extend the agreement for professional services with Faithful Friends with their services PC to the Town of Islip Animal Shelter and Adopted Pet Center on an as-needed basis through July 28, 2018. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilor Mullins, second by Councilor Ward. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next item, authorization to supervise execute contract with David Sanders, Dance Dynamics Company, to provide a modern dance program for developmentally disabled youth and young adults. Any questions? Hearing none, make that motion. Second by Councilor Fodder. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 13 is an authorization for the supervisor to sign an indemnification hold harmless agreement for an event administered by YES, which is using routine services on properties owned by the West Islip School District. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second.
Second.
By Councilman Fodder. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 14 is the authorization of the supervisor to apply for and to accept grant funding from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the 2016 Urban and Community Forestry Grants Program Round 13 tree planting projects. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilor Bergen, second by Councilor Fodder. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is board approval to permit the very popular Islip Rose Market to use the municipal parking lot located east of Town Hall on Saturday mornings from May 27, 2017 through November 18, 2017. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilor Mullins, second by Councilor Fodder. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is board acceptance of a deed for a parcel of land at the southwest corner of Ocean Avenue and Raymond Street in Islip for a corner radius dedication. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Fodder, second by Councilor Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 17 is an authorization of the supervisor to enter into a contract with the USA Emergency Border Inc. for contract PD 1-17 Water and Secure various properties townwide. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilor Mullins, second by Councilor Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? We have 4 in favor. Councilor Bergen is opposed. The motion carries. Item 18 is an authorization for the supervisor to enter into a 1-year extension agreement with D. Giovanna Brothers Landscaping for the 2016 Baytown Village Landscape Maintenance. Any questions? Hearing none, all in motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fodder, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 19 is a motion for board approval to amend the Town of Islip capital budget plan. There may be some questions, so Joe, our controller, let the people still here, if you would please come forward. I know that some of these, this is necessary to pay for some FEMA projects, but perhaps you can explain it in more detail than I.
Sure. Joseph Ludwig, Controller of the Town of Islip, 401 Main Street, Islip, New York.
And then again, this is just to amend the program. It's not saying they'll only go to appropriate these funds that we necessarily will be doing all of this, but this will give us the ability to do so once it's before us.
Once again, Supervisor, you steal all my thunder. Why you pull me up on that? There are 2 sets of amendments within the capital budget today. The first set is just renaming what was originally adopted back in November, and the example I'll use is the asphalt pathways. The Parks and Recreation Department historically had always used asphalt money, which is under one section of the law when you do bonding. They've come to the realization that it does not last as long, and they prefer to now switch it over to sidewalks, which is concrete. So that's why you'll see that amendment there, and there are a couple of those types of instances in there. The overall increase, however, to the capital budget, which amounts to approximately $2.3 million, is directly related to FEMA funds that were awarded to the town as a result of 2 coastal storms, one that occurred in 2010, one that occurred in 2011. The work was never done because in August, I believe, of 2011, Hurricane Irene hit, and of course we all know what happened in 2012, it was Hurricane Sandy, and then the Army Corps of Engineers actually wound up doing the work. Luckily for the town, FEMA had allotted approximately $3.3 million towards the improvements to the coastal areas. As I mentioned, we did not do the work. New York State, on our behalf, advocated to get those funds to be reallocated in what they call alternate projects. The state got that permission on our behalf, told us that we had $3.3 million that we can now spend on alternate projects. They had requested it to be used for equipment type purchases, not brick and mortar and construction type things, as that was going to slow down the process. They had reached out to the town back in October, and we had given them a list of various items that pretty much kind of came across all the different departments. That's in the way of all the background. In order for us to act upon this, when it comes to FEMA funds, 75% of it is covered through the federal government, 12.5% is covered through the state, and there's a 12.5% local match, and that's the part that we would be on the hook for. The way we fund our capital projects, as I stated before, is always done through the bonding process. So in order for us to issue a bond for any of these types of projects, we have to list within our capital plan the total cost of the projects. And again, by way of example, I'll use it in the planning department. They have requested a $25,000 plotter. So you'll see there's an original budget of $0, the amendment is $25,000. If the board is so desirous to go forward with it, the actual cost of the town would be about a $3,500 bond. But to show it in the bond resolution, we have to show the full cost, which would be $25,000. And that's why you'll see the amendments that you see before you. As I mentioned, the total allotment from the FEMA funds was $3.2 million. The adjustments you see here are only $2.3, and that's because we only adjusted the lines that needed to be adjusted. If a department had requested something, for our sake, a piece of equipment, that was already within the adopted capital budget, and that was sufficient to cover the purchase, then we did not make that amendment. So simplistically and probably rather confusingly, that's why you have the amendment before you today.
I think that answers it pretty well, but any discussion from Councilor?
Yeah. So Joe, then it's fair to say that the 87% of this $2.3 million is actually federal funds that we're getting, and to take this vote, to vote yes on this, is to say yes to accepting that money. It's not actually $2.3 million more of Islip Town taxpayer money.
That would be correct, yes. It's actually state and federal. It's 75% federal, 12.5% state.
Thanks.
But at this juncture, just so that I'm clear on it, we are just voting on amending the capital budget plan. We are not appropriating $1 here today.
That's correct.
Okay. Councilor Connery?
Also, you said the amount of money for FEMA was $3 million or something, you said?
The total award was $3.3 million and change, give or take. We came up with items with estimated costs that came close to it. It did not exceed it. Obviously, there may be some things that have to go out to bid, and you know, Commissioner Owens, as DPW and as Parks and Recreation, is going off of the pricing as of October. I don't know how long that pricing will be held for, so it may not be the exact numbers you see, but it should be enough to cover it.
But these corrections, basically, to say $2.4 million more, they were trying to correct here. In the long run, we're really going to get maybe more than $3 million, which is some other money already that we put in the capital plan that's already been taken.
That is correct.
So, and the only other really changes were, like you said, good examples, asphalt to sidewalk. It's just that you're trying to put them in a more proper column for sidewalk. It's not asphalt sidewalks, you might be doing sidewalks, that's cement.
Right, the concrete is under a different section of the finance law, so when you borrow and you issue bonds, everything references back to a section of the law, so to be more right. So if the Commissioner Owens wants to put sidewalks in outside a park, he cannot use that asphalt money unless he does an asphalt sidewalk, and we know that that's not going to last.
So let's give us more flexibility.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have 5 categories here for this scope. We'll start with Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. So motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Cochran, second by Councilor Murphy. Those in favor? It's approved. Next, we have the changes in the Department of Public Works. Motion. Motion by Councilor Bergen, second. Second. By Councilor Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next, Information Technology. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Planning and Development. I think that was reference to a plotter that was needed. Motion by Councilor Plotter, second by Councilor Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. And last is Public Safety Enforcement, radios and other equipment. Motion. Motion by Councilor Bergen, second by Councilor Plotter. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Thank you very much, Joe.
Madam Supervisor, on the first vote, may I just get who made the motion and who seconded?
I made the motion.
Councilor Cochran made the motion. And
Thank you.
Okay, we now will go to item 20. Is an authorization for the supervisor to exercise the new one-year option of commercial instrumentation to renew DPW 2-2014 for the second and final one-year extension to April 25, 2018. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilor Mullins, second by Councilor Fawnin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 21, authorization to supervise the executed agreement with Old Bay Industries to store certain equipment at the Central Islip Highway Yard while working on the New York State DOT project to repair concrete pavement for Route 27. Any questions?
Motion. Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next, we go to item 22, acceptance of grant funding from New York State Department of Transportation for the construction of the airport rescue and fire fighting building at Long Island Park Airport. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 23 is an authorization of the supervisor to enter into agreement with Lex Bolo LLC to provide consulting services service development and user plan to Long Island Park Airport. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. Second by Councilman Mullins. All those in favor? Approved. The next item is the authorization of the supervisor to execute an agreement with John Giamatti for the provision of professional services relating to the continued development of the air service development program at Long Island Park Airport. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilwoman Bergen, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Flower. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 25 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute an airline use agreement with American Airlines to provide airline support services. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. Second. By Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. The next item is board approval establishing Bayer Airfield Services and Bayer Brothers as the sole source of Oshkosh parts and service for airport rescue and firefighting and snow removal equipment at Long Island Park Airport. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 27 is an authorization of the supervisor for a one-year option extending agreement with JTE Enterprises to provide taxi services at Long Island Park Airport. Any questions? Hearing none, motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Mullins. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is board approval for the town clerk to be appointed as a registrar of vital statistics for the town of Islip for the term of Kevin Minnis with the term of office of the town clerk. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second. Second by Councilman Mullins. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 29 is the appointment of 4 members to the Islip Town Environmental Council Board. This is a group that has been in existence for many, many years, chaired by Nancy Manfredonia. There were a number of vacancies. Everyone that's putting forward really has an interest in environmental issues. Their resumes are attached, and the only ones reviewed them. And the first being Jean Marie Cashcoda. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Flower. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. The second is Patricia M. Brinkman. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed. The third being Jim Fields. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Opposed. All right, we're pretty big to oppose. The motion carries. The fourth being Victor Brennan. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Flower. All those in favor? Opposed? Was approved. Item 30 is an authorization of the supervisor to enter into agreements with Second Board of Elections for the use of various town facilities as official polling places for 2017 primary, general, and special elections. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Was approved. The next item is special events. There are 3 St. Patrick's Day parades, 7 lines, art special on Bayshore, and many other great events. Any questions? Just make sure that you go for it. Keep everybody busy. Any motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flower. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next, item 32 is the meeting of the Town of Essex Farm Trade Zone. I'll call for motion to board to convene. Motion. Motion by Councilor Bergen, second by Councilor Flannery. The board is convened with the forum being present, Mr. Hemingway. Correct.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the FTZ Board. My name is Brad Hemingway. I'm the Executive Director for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority, located at 1 Trade Zone Drive in Ronkonkoma. Today I have 2 items for your consideration. First item being approval of the minutes from the January 24th, 2017 meeting of the Islip Foreign Trade Zone Board.
I'll make that motion. Second. Second by Councilor Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? It's approved. Next item.
Next item is authorization for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority to enter into a landscape contract with Milano Brother Landscaping and Design for one year with an option for 2 one-year additions.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilor Bergen, second. Second by Councilor Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? And I guess no new business.
That's it.
Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Coggin, second by Councilor Bergen. The meeting of the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority Board is adjourned. Thank you very much. Item 33 is an approval to ensure that the current base proportion of either the homestead class or non-homestead class does not exceed the adjusted base proportion of the immediately preceding year by 1% as set forth in the real property tax law, Article 19, Reform Filed in the Office of the Town Clerk. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilman Coggin, second by Councilor Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item 34 is an authorization for the supervisor executing the assignment from Ultimate Game Sports to Weather Studio 3 LLC and an amendment from the state Islip for Studio 3. Any questions?
Before we take a vote, can I just ask that this resolution be subject to a referendum?
Absolutely. So we will make that motion.
I'll draft the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I will draft the resolution and file with the town clerk after the meeting.
Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a lease amendment whereby Mary Lynn Brenley and Alan Brenley Jr. shall be added as an additional new tenants to the lease. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an approval on the list of individuals submitted by the 5 ambulance corps for participation in the 2016 Service Awards Program, which is LoSAP. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilman Flannery, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Yes. We have 4 in favor, 1 refusal on item 26. Next item, all in favor? Opposed? It's approved. Next item is an authorization for the supervisor to enter into agreement with Islip Gym Inc., DBA Gold's Gym Islip, to provide access for swim activities. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. I'll make that motion. Second. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. The next item is the appointment of Anthony D'Amico to the position of Commissioner of the Department of Public Enforcement. Anthony's been serving in this position as acting for a number of months and previously as the deputy. Has really done an outstanding job, and I'm delighted to take this resolution and make a motion to appoint Anthony. Motion and second by Councilman Flannery. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved unanimously. Congratulations. To enter into an agreement with the Islip Arts Council to oversee and operate the museum, specifically including maintaining the current exhibit. Any questions? Hearing none, motion. Motion by Councilman Flannery, second. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is approved. Is there any business to come before the town board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion